What is up, crazy fam? Guys, listen up. For this video, I wanted to create a melee build, but I wanted to make a build that felt like a tank, meaning if I'm fighting a boss, I don't want to care about avoiding every shot perfectly. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, if you want to play a tank, you want to stand there and take some damage like an absolute legend without worrying too much. And then I was like, you know what's better than a tank? A teleporting tank. So we're going to be combining the Invader with the Challenger. We're going to be teleporting like an absolute madman, dealing high critical damage, and obviously I wanted to achieve all of this on the Apocalypse difficulty. I tested this in many scenarios against fire ads that aren't the best situation for a melee build, fought a boss that moved around way too much, teleporting left and right, and by the way, he just keeps spamming the projectiles, so he was pretty annoying, I'm not gonna lie. But that said, I was tanking him without any issues and dealing high crit numbers while tanking was tons of fun, and on top of that, I have healing when I deal damage, and you're gonna have so much shield. By the way, you can spam it without a care in the world thanks to our relic. However, even without it, take a look at this. Just look at the damage we deal and how good the healing is every time I get a hit. Overall, the build makes you feel like a tank and has amazing DPS, but I still think there is a few items I need to make this build even better, and when I do get everything, I will make a video for an updated version of this build. But now let's break down the setup and I'll show you some different ways you can make this work. Remember guys, the whole point of this build is that when you get hit, you don't care. You feel like a tank that can dish out tons of damage. I'm going to quickly go over the armor here so you guys can quickly see what we're running. And then we're going to talk about the relic, because this relic is what makes you feel like a tank. It's absolutely phenomenal. On use grants a shield for 100% of max health. Lasts 20 seconds or until shield is removed by damage. The fact that you have 10 of these is insane, right? Because you can pretty much have your shield up all the time while dealing a lot of damage, and to be honest, you can just be careless and spam that. And as you saw in the gameplay, I was just spamming it. I didn't even care how many I had. When the boss was like one shot, I still used an extra one because you have a lot of them, and that's the whole point, to have that shield up as long as you can and to feel untouchable. Now for the weapon, we're going to be using the Stonebreaker at +10. Now this one has a melee charge that does quite a lot of damage. However, when I was recording the gameplay, I did not have this ring right here. Bisected ring, gain infinite stamina, all damage received is increased by 25%. Having that stamina up at all times is extremely fun, and it will help you dish out way more damage than normal. So you can use this instead of some of the rings that we're going to go over here in a second. But first, let's talk about Overdrive, which is one of the main mutators you want to be using on your melee weapons. Melee critical hits increase melee critical chance and critical damage by 5% for 15 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. And on level 10, melee critical strikes deal 20% additional damage. Now, another way we're going to be getting more critical chance and more critical damage is the Whetstone in combination with the Blood Jewel. So Blood Jewel states, charged melee attacks apply bleeding, dealing 620 bleed damage over 20 seconds. So for 20 seconds, the enemy's going to be bleeding, right? That's when the Whetstone comes in. When attacking a bleeding enemy, crit chance is increased by 15% and crit damage is increased by 30%. So this combination right here is pretty much active 24/7, which is huge for a melee build. And we're going to be combining it with the Burden of the Gambler. Disables weak spots, which we don't really care about, increases critical chance by 10%, critical damage by 20%. So every single one of these is just a perfect combination. And on top of that, we're going to combine it with the Probability Cord, which further increases the critical damage by 30%. And all of these things is what makes this build super fun. You're going to be seeing high crit damage numbers. And the final ring is going to be Berserker's Crest, increases melee charge speed by 20% and reduces melee stamina cost by 25%. Now this can be swapped out, as mentioned, for Bisected Ring, because you pretty much do not benefit from the melee stamina cost reduction by 25% from this ring if you're using this one. However, do keep in mind, you will be taking considerably more damage. Not that it's going to kill you right away or anything like that. Since we're using the shields, the survivability is very, very high. So there's a lot of choices to be made here, and I'm going to be looking into all of these. And when I do perfect everything, I'll definitely bring you guys an updated build. Now for the traits, we're going to be running Untouchable, Strong Back, Fortify, Vigor, expertise, fitness, bark skin, and siphoner. Now, siphoner is pretty important because this is how we're going to be getting our HP up all the time. Now, for the fragments, mythic melee attack speed, flawless melee critical chance, and mythic melee damage. Now, let's talk about our archetypes. The first one we're going to be looking into is the Invader. And the skill that we're going to be utilizing is Wormhole. First of all, it's a lot of fun, okay? Just teleporting around like an absolute madman. Yes, it's fun. But the crazy thing is, every time you teleport, the next melee or ranged attack within 5 seconds will deal 300% damage. Another thing that I forgot to mention is because of the Prime perk, every time we cast an Invader skill, we leave a decoy for 3 seconds, which draws enemy fire. Deal 15% additional damage to enemies not targeting Invader. And this actually happens way more than you would imagine. Even in boss fights, when you do teleport, they start hitting the decoy, and that is perfect both for survivability and for the damage increase. So I feel like Invader overall is just such a super fun class to use. Some of the passives are also really good. For example, Shark is very strong, but some of my friends were saying that this is not working properly currently, so do keep that in mind. We also have a Loophole. All ally ranged and melee damage against enemies is distracted by the Invader's decoy, grants 7.5% base damage as lifesteal. And overall, all of these passives are just really, really good. And honestly, I've been enjoying it a lot. I got another build that I'm working on with the Invader. That's more of a ranged build, and I'm really excited about that one. But for now, let's talk about the Challenger right here, which is going to be our second archetype. And the reason we're going to be using this is for the Juggernaut. And honestly, like, this is a no-brainer, right? Become nearly unstoppable, gaining 3 stacks of Bulwark, 15% increased movement and melee speed, and 50% increased melee damage. Stagger level reduced by 1, lasts 25 seconds. Every increase that comes with the skill, you can feel every time you use it. And that's what I really enjoy about this overall setup, right? You use this skill, then you teleport in, then you do the heavy attack, deal massive amounts of damage. On top of that, we have close quarters. We also have intimidating presence, powerlifter, and face of danger. So yeah, if you want to be a teleporting tank, which deals high critical damage and literally have a 20-second shield that kind of makes you unkillable, yeah, this is the build for you. Anyway, if you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to slap the like button, subscribe to the channel. I'm working on a lot of build videos, so stay tuned for that. As always, ladies and gents, never forget to share that positive energy all around. Take care, and I'll see you on the next one.
Let's go! Let's go, baby! Let's go!
I mean, we literally have the best community of all time.
Oh! Oh, he got no scoped!